All right, everybody, we're live. Hold on, I have a Facebook message from Jason. Jason says, link for stream. Oh, yeah, I got to send them the link. Well, they won't be able to join at all without that. Look at that. I'm like, where is everybody? Although it's interesting that it's 7:31 before anybody asks for it. So, I mean, there's that. There's there's that. But yeah, we're live. Hold on, let me get rid of that. Hi, it's Nate. How's everybody doing? For anybody watching out there, welcome in. We're going to do it's going to be a very special episode of the WTH podcast. So the Donald Trump tape from Saturday, when he called the Secretary of State of Georgia, there's Jason. Already went live, Jason. So I'm just sort of explaining to everybody what we're doing tonight. So, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I can't hear you. So there's that. Nope, can't hear you.
Can't hear me now.
So the red light on top means stop. Is it go? Is it red? Is it go? Nope, can't hear you. Nothing. I have you potted up here too. I checked that. I was like, did I have them potted up? I do. Hold on, you're muted actually. Can their mic isn't connected. There we go. Nope, there we go. We should be able to hear you.
Can you hear me now? No.
Nope, not yet. You're not muted, but I don't know why we can't hear you. Now it's muted you for whatever reason. So while Jason figures that out, yeah, no, should be coming through on that channel, and we are not getting Jason for whatever reason. Let's see if there's Kareem. Kareem, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay, I can't hear Kareem either. So that means maybe it's on my end. Shouldn't be. Shouldn't be on my end.
Kareem, can you hear me?
Everything is there.
Jason.
Can you hear me?
Well, yeah. That's awkward, isn't it? Have I muted the computer? That was it. It was me all along.
You had me freaking the fuck out over here.
Well,
what's going on? What am I doing wrong?
I was trying to unmute you, and it said your microphone was disconnected, and then I knew when Kareem joined in.
Well, because I kept moving it to different locations because you kept saying you couldn't hear me. So I was like, oh, let me try this port.
Yeah, I just muted. I just because I'm like, okay, everything's up on the audio board. I wonder what it could be. And turns out I had muted the computer. And that will do it every time. It's good to know. So if I don't want to listen to you guys, I can just do that. And there you're gone.
And we're gone.
And now you're back. The people who are streaming, the funny thing is the people who are streaming it live will still be able to hear you because you're going direct. Your audio is going out direct. So
yeah,
it's going to be really weird for the people who are watching the live stream.
And
the show hasn't started yet, so it's fine.
Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna get a sweatshirt on real quick. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, while Jason goes to do that, Kareem, welcome in. Just explaining to everybody that we're doing a very special episode of the WTH podcast tonight because Sunday morning I got up and found out that Donald Trump had called the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and that the entire 1 hour tape was out there. And I thought, do I want to listen to this 1 hour tape? And Kareem, my answer was, I don't. So I thought about it. I'm like, everybody should really hear this, but should you have to go through it alone? And I thought, okay, our show is about an hour. This tape is about an hour. So the show's probably going to be about an hour and a half tonight, just to be honest.
Yeah.
To get through most of this. So that's what our show is going to be tonight. So if you have zero interest in hearing the Donald Trump hour-long call to the Georgia Secretary of State, there's not a lot in here for you. I mean, sure, there's going to be us and our fun quips and whatever sweatshirt Jason's wearing, because clearly they're keeping the house chilly for the ladies. But have you listened to the whole thing or just clips like the rest of us?
I have listened to the whole thing twice.
Oh, twice.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Well, I did like you did, and I first heard the clips.
Right.
And then, me and you are both on Twitter a lot. And so, reading through the comments on Twitter, people were like, oh, they're taking it out of context. They only clip this portion. So I was like, okay, let's listen to the whole thing.
And that's what we're going to do tonight. I don't want to take it out of context. I don't want anybody to say, well, you guys weren't listening to the whole thing. We're going to listen to the whole thing. We're going to go through it all, and we're going to pause it here and there. If you guys want to pause it, just yell pause. And then we'll try and do it that way. I don't know how well it's going to work, but we'll see how it goes. This call happened on Saturday, by the way. This isn't something that happened a while ago. This happened Saturday. So as we're live on Monday, this is 2 days old. 2 days old. We are 2 months after the election. So the election is. Go on.
I think that might be the craziest part, is that this just happened.
Right. The other thing I wonder, as we get ready to listen to this, is this was recorded and released. And the only reason that this was released was Raffensperger didn't really want to release it, but he said, okay, we're going to record it and we won't release it unless Trump tries to misrepresent the call or attacks me. A day later, Trump attacked Raffensperger on Twitter. It's not the first time. Now, he accused Brad Raffensperger's brother of working for China. Brad doesn't have a brother. No. So there's that. But that doesn't matter. None of that matters. Absolutely none of that matters. That he let go, by the way. And there's so much going on. I'm so mad because there's so much shit going on besides this. I mean, Trump is in Georgia now. And by the way, if you missed Donald Trump Jr.'s allegedly coke-fueled rampage beforehand, that was, it was stupid.
I have to go back and check that out.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So normally we go through stuff and we like I said, we will listen to the clips. We'll play the clips on the show because we want to get to other things. Like there was a super spreader event in Granite Bay with Sacramento influencers who I've never heard of, which is apparently a big deal, right? Well, it's a big deal because there were a few hundred people at this party on New Year's Eve, none of them wearing masks, several of them with COVID, and it's gonna spread. One of them I saw posted a selfie after going to the party, went to the airport. So he was at a party where he was exposed to people with COVID and then immediately went to the airport to fly somewhere else and expose more people to COVID, allegedly.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I didn't know what exactly happened. Somebody I know posted a video about it, where he pretty much told them all to go fuck themselves. So I was curious as to what happened. And you just gave me the backstory.
Go fuck yourself. Say it again. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. It was a lot of influencers. There's a feud now between the guy who does the People of Sacramento clothing. By the way, terrible name. I mean, do you not know about People of Walmart? Do you really want People of Sacramento? That does not sound like anything complimentary. Just by comparison. Wow. So that was the guy who was holding the party at Eddie Murphy's old house in Granite Bay.
Wow.
We're not talking about that, by the way, tonight. Not going to talk about that because we have for another, 2 weeks? Another 2 weeks. We have this guy as the president of the United States. So let's get to it.
WTH.
What the hell?
What the hell?
That was the wrong thing. That was the wrong thing. Hold on. Yeah, we're gonna do it right. We're gonna do it right.
Oh man.
WTH.
What the hell?
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 This is the WTH, the WTH podcast.
Hold on to your butt.
Jason Casey, Kareem Daniels, and Nate Darling. From the Darling New Media Studios. This is the WTH podcast.
Home studios. Darling New Media home studios. By the way, Darling New Media moving to Midtown this month. Exact date, don't have it yet. Coming soon. Then you'll know when it is. But
Yeah,
before the
make sure you let me
end
know.
I'm absolutely going to let you know before the end of January. I'm hoping to have everything done by the 20th in terms of moving, so that I then have time to clean up the old space and get it all squared away. So, if you're just joining us after the show open, hey, welcome. Thanks for being there. We do appreciate you listening wherever it might be, from down under in Australia to our massive audience in India and anywhere else across the world. Welcome in. As we mentioned beforehand, we're going to go through Trump's call with the Georgia Secretary of State. Let's get to it.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. President, everybody is on the line, and just so this is Mark Meadows, the Chief of Staff. Just so we all are aware, on the line is Secretary of State and two other individuals, Jordan and Mr. Germany. With him, you also have the attorneys that represent the President, Kurt and Alex, and Cleta Mitchell, who is not the attorney of record, but has been involved, myself, and then the president. So, Mr. President, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, Brad and Ryan and everybody. We appreciate the time and the call. So we've spent a lot of time on this, and if we could just go over some of the numbers, I think it's pretty clear that we won. We won very substantially, Georgia. You even see it by rally size, frankly. We'd be getting 25, 30,000 people a rally.
Okay. Right off the jump, less than a minute in. You did not win Georgia. You did not. Rally size has nothing to do with vote counting. Nothing. You dipshit. President dipshit.
There were 3 audits on this election in
Yes.
Georgia. Not this, the entire country, in the state of Georgia, even down to a hand count. You did not win Georgia.
Did not see any, there's nothing that showed any type of fraud in that state.
Or in any state, for that matter.
Right.
Until this call. This call. Okay, let's get to it. So the premise of the call is false off the jump. We're a minute 5 in. The Secretary of State of Georgia could, at this point, just go, "You are completely out of your gourd, Mr. President. We have other things to do." Toodles.
Also, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So, I mean, there's a completely reasonable...
Joe Biden didn't have rallies like that.
No,
Most of his rallies were people in cars.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move. We need to move on because we'll never get through this.
The competition would get less than 100 people, and it never made sense. But we have a number of things. We have at least 2 or 3, anywhere from 250 to 300,000 ballots were dropped mysteriously into the rolls. Much of that had to do with Fulton County.
Those were the mail-in ballots. They weren't mysteriously dropped. They were mail-in ballots that they had to count after the day of ballots were counted. No mystery. Just to be clear.
which hasn't been checked. We think that if you check the signatures, a real check of the signatures going back in Fulton County, you'll find at least a couple of 100,000 of forged signatures of people.
We think you'll find. No, you won't. We went through hand counts. We went through recertifications multiple times. We think you'll find has nothing. Absolutely nothing. There is no evidence or accusation in we think you'll find.
With who have been forged, and we are quite sure that's going to happen. Another tremendous number. We're going to have an accurate number over the next 2 days with certified accountants, but an accurate number will be given. But it's in the 50s of thousands, and that's people that went to vote and they were told they can't vote because they've already been voted for.
Okay. Jason, you have to unmute yourself.
50s of thousands? Is that what he said?
50s of thousands. Yes, he did.
That's what he said. 50s of thousands. I just want to make sure that's what he said.
He did.
Okay.
He did.
Now,
That
mind you, he told his people to vote twice.
right.
He told his people to vote by mail and then go vote in person.
So when they showed up to vote, they've already voted, so they can't vote.
Right. So that's his fault.
Mystery solved. And by the way, what do the accountants have to do with this? Certified accountants? What are they calling in Price Waterhouse? Is this the fucking Golden Globes and shit?
He thinks it's the Oscars.
Yeah.
And it's a very sad thing. They walked out complaining, but the number is large. We'll have it for you, but it's much more than the number of 11,779. That's the current margin is only 11,779. Brad, I think you agree with that, right? That's something I think everyone, at least that's a number that everyone agrees on. But that's the difference in the votes. But we've had hundreds of thousands of ballots that we're able to actually. We'll get you a pretty accurate number. You don't need much of a number because the number that, in theory, I lost by the margin would be 11,779. But you also have substantial numbers of people, thousands and thousands, who went to the voting place on November 3rd, were told they couldn't vote. We're told they couldn't vote because a ballot had been put in on their name. And, that's very, 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 very sad. We had...
It's very, 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 very sad.
Oh, he plays the hits throughout the conversation. So
it's very, 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 very sad. Just a reminder, Donald Trump supporters are the ones who popularized the phrase, fuck your feelings. So I have a thought about their sad. Wah, wah.
I believe it's about 4,502 voters who voted, but who weren't on the voter registration list. So it's 4,502 who voted, but they were not on the voter registration roll, which they had to be. You had 18,325 vacant address voters. They had the address was vacant, and they're not allowed to be counted. That's 18,325. Smaller number, you had 904 who only voted where they had just a PO, a post office box number. And they had a post office box number, and that's not allowed. We had at least 18,000, that's on tape. We had them counted very painstakingly. 18,000 voters having to do with, she's a vote scammer, a professional vote scammer. And
you're a professional vote scammer. What are you talking about? You have any idea what the fuck he's talking about here?
it's a YouTube. It's a clip that's gone around the right wing media.
Oh,
That's what he's talking about. But mind you, everything that he just said is a QAnon or 4chan conspiracy.
Gotcha. Sounds about right. I mean, these I love the really specific numbers. It's like, oh, it's this and it's this and it's this many. And can you imagine the other end of this phone call? The amount of face palming going on while this is happening.
He called them 18 times.
My God.
They dodged 18 phone calls from him before they finally agreed to take this fucking call.
Oh, well, that was
18 times.
They should have dodged 19. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. So we continue. By the way, we're only 4 minutes and 20 seconds in.
Hustler. That was the tape that's been shown all over the world that makes everybody look bad. You, me, and everybody else. Where they got number one, they said very clearly, and it's been reported that they said there was a major water main break. Everybody fled the area, and then they came back. Her daughter and a few people. There were no Republican poll watchers. Actually, there were no Democrat poll watchers. I guess they were them, but there were no Democrats either, and there was no law enforcement. Early in the morning, they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield.
Okay, so you had a polling place with no cops and no poll watchers who were Republican and no poll watchers who were Democrats.
No, they
By
were
the
them.
way,
They were them. This is Democrats. They were them.
Okay, so here's let me just point this out. I've been voting since 1988. 1988. Okay, the first presidential election I voted for George H.W. Bush over Michael Dukakis. I'd do that again.
I made that mistake.
I have then I voted against George H.W. Bush in 92. I have never in my 32 years of voting seen a poll watcher. I have voted in Vermont, I have voted in New York, I have voted in California, and not once have I seen a poll watcher. I've seen wheel watchers. They're big fans of Pat Sajak and Vanna White, but never a poll watcher. So this is a relatively new thing where everybody's obsessed. What about these poll watchers?
Yeah, I mean, my first year that I could vote, I also volunteered at the polls that year and was a volunteer, like the youngest by at least 20 years at the time.
Or 50.
Yeah, or 50. It was at my elementary school. I don't remember a poll watcher being there.
This is all ridiculous. This is all ridiculous. You know why? Because it's private. You walk in, you get a ballot, you go in your little booth or your little table stand, you fill out your ballot, you put it in a sleeve, and then it gets fed through a machine. Or in New York, we went into the little old school thing. We went, tick, 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 tick. When we're done, we open the curtain, it marked the thing, and doom, we're done.
Yeah. And then I want to point out before we move past, before we really get into this is the state of Georgia.
Right.
The governor of the state of Georgia is Brian Kemp,
mm-hmm.
who ran for governor while being the Secretary of State, who did voter intimidation in that race. And I know that because I know somebody who worked on that campaign. If Brian Kemp is saying that this election is good, this fucking election, there was nothing that he could fucking do to prevent Joe Biden from running this. If there was anything that Brian Kemp could have done to prevent Joe Biden from winning the state of Georgia, it was done. Everything that could have been done was done to keep Joe Biden from winning that state. Just so everybody who's out there understands.
Yeah, and Kemp, both Kemp and Raffensperger, Trump supporters.
And everything from closing poll location, stopping early voting, all of that, everything that's in the handbook for voter, reducing voter turnout, everything in that handbook was done. Every play in that playbook was run. So he lost. Like, he lost with the referees on his side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep plowing through this.
Held out the votes. Those votes were put there a number of hours before the table was put there. I think it was, Brad, you would know, it was probably 8 hours or 7 hours before, and then it was stuffed with votes. They weren't in an official voter box. They were in what looked to be suitcases or trunks, suitcases, but they weren't in voter boxes. The minimum number it could be, because we watched it and they watched it certified in slow motion, instant replay, if you can believe it, but had slow motion, and it was magnified many times over. And the minimum it was 18,000 ballots, all for Biden. You had out-of-state voters. They voted in Georgia, but they were from out of state, of 4,925. You had absentee ballot sent to vacant. They were absentee ballots sent to vacant addresses. They had nothing on them about addresses. That's 2,326. And you had drop boxes, which was very bad. You had drop boxes that were picked up. We have photographs, and we have affidavits from many people. I don't know if you saw the hearings, but you have drop boxes where the box was picked up and not delivered for 3 days. So all sorts of things could have happened to that box, including, putting in the votes that you wanted. So there are many infractions, and the bottom line is many, many times the 11,779 margin that they said we lost by. We had the state is in turmoil over this. And I know you would like to get to the bottom of it, although I saw you on television today and you said that you found nothing wrong. I didn't lose the state, Fred.
So they've gotten to the bottom of it. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
They went on TV to say, we've gotten to the bottom of this. There's nothing wrong. But here he is badgering them, telling them all of these conspiracy theories, and just throwing number after number at them. And by the way, they're not responding yet. They will, but they're not responding yet.
Have been saying that it was the highest vote ever. There was no way. A lot of the political people said that there's no way they beat me, and they beat me. They beat me in the poll. As you know, every single state, we won every state. We won every state house in the country. We held the Senate, which is shocking to people, although we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Hold on. We won every state. We won every state house. You didn't win every state.
Or in a few days, and we won the House, but we won every single state house, and we won Congress, which was supposed to lose 15 seats, and they gained, I think, 16 or 17 or something. I think there's now a difference of 5. There was supposed to be a difference substantially more. But politicians in every state, but politicians in Georgia have given affidavits and are going to that there was no way they beat me in the election, that the people came out. In fact, they were expecting to lose, and they ended up winning by a lot because of the coattails. And they said there's no way that they've done many polls prior to the election. There was no way that they won. Ballots were dropped in massive numbers, and we're trying to get to those numbers, and we will have them. They'll take a period of time. Certified.
Okay, question. How did all of these Republicans win? If why would you stuff the ballot box for Joe Biden, but yet down ballot, if you're cheating, why would you stuff the ballot box for Joe Biden and then down ballot vote Republican?
Come on, Nate. You have how any conspiracy works, bro. Like, of course they had to do that to make it more believable. I mean, come on. Like, if you're gonna steal the election, do it in the way that nobody can argue against.
No, sure. You can't argue with crazy, I guess.
Atlanta is one of the gayest cities in the country. And you got a bunch of, it is, dude, it seriously is. So you have a bunch of gay people in Atlanta. You have a bunch of black people that moved from back from the north in California to the south to Atlanta. You have an influx of Asian and Latinos, Mexicans, into Georgia and in that Atlanta metro area. That's where that vote's changing. This is the shit that's going to happen in Texas in the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Those people voted for,
it's already happening in Arizona. It's already happened in Arizona.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue.
And now it's time for the airing of the fucking grievances.
But they're massive numbers and far greater than the 11,779. The other thing, dead people. So dead people voted, and I think the number is in the close to 5,000 people. And they went to obituaries. They went to all sorts of methods to come up with an accurate number, and a minimum is close to about 5,000 voters. The bottom line is when you add it all up, and then you start adding, 300,000 fake ballots. Then the other thing they said is in Fulton County and other areas, and this may or may not be true, this just came up this morning, that they are burning their ballots, that they are shredding ballots and removing equipment. They're changing the equipment on the Dominion machines. And, then that's not legal. And they supposedly shredded, I think they said 3,000 pounds of ballots. And that just came to us as a report today. And
this was a scandal, the television show. This was a scandal storyline.
Well, now we know where it came from.
Shonda Rhimes.
Yes.
Knew it. Knew she was up to no good. Started making trouble in my neighborhood. Yeah, I mean, wow. And he keeps saying they this, they that, and there's no specification as to who they are, which is a pretty big deal when you're talking about all of it. You've got these specific numbers, but a generic they that's responsible for all of it.
And look, and this is the funny thing is this is not the first time that he's stolen a movie reference and turned it into a scandal, because he did it with the Sicario movie. And I said it and everybody looked at me like I was crazy when I said, like, no, that's the opening of Sicario 2. So this is the MO.
All right, time for Mo from Mo.
It's a very sad situation. But Brad,
sad.
If you took the minimum numbers were many, many times above the 11,779, and many of those numbers are certified, or they will be certified, but they are certified. Those are numbers that are there, that exist, and that beat the margin of loss. They beat it, by a lot. And people should be happy to have an accurate count instead of an election where there's turmoil. I mean, there's turmoil in Georgia and other.
There's not turmoil in Georgia other than you stirring shit up.
Yes.
They've counted the ballots multiple times. They've certified the election. There's no turmoil. There just isn't. Aside from the president of the United States yelling about all of this and his supporters.
And his hand is cold.
Yeah.
You're not the only one. I mean, we have other states that I believe will be flipping to us very shortly. And but this is.
That means he called Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and probably Nevada as well.
Yes.
So there are more calls like this. They just weren't necessarily recorded. And if
they haven't been released yet.
They haven't been released yet.
Yeah.
They may all drop on Wednesday night after Georgia polls close.
This is something that's, as an example, I think in Detroit, and I think there's a good section of your state, actually, which we're not sure, so we're not going to report it yet. But in Detroit, we had 139% of the people voted. That's not too good. In Pennsylvania, they had well over 200,000 more votes than they had people voting. And that doesn't play too well. And the legislature there which is Republican, is extremely activist and angry. But I mean, there were other things also that were almost as bad as that. But they had, as an example, in Michigan, a tremendous number of dead people that voted. I think, Mark, it was 18,000, some unbelievably high number, much higher than yours. You were in the 4,000 to 5,000 category. And that was checked out laboriously by going through by going through the obituary columns
Okay.
Who was going through all the obituary columns in every location?
Well, the other thing is there are multiple people that can have the same name.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, there is a Nate Darling who signed with the Charlotte Hornets out of University of Delaware. He is not me, and I am not him. He's Canadian and taller.
There are 10 people in my family with the name of Willie Daniels.
Right.
And one of them is a woman.
Oh, well, there's a plot twist.
So I guess with all of it being said, Brett, it's the bottom line. And provisional ballots, again, you'll have to tell me about the provisional ballots, but we have a lot of people that were complaining that they weren't able to vote because they were already voted for. And these are great people. And, they were shell-shocked. I don't know if you call that provisional ballots. In some states, we had a lot of provisional ballot.
They were not shell-shocked. For someone who claims to support the military, to use that term in that way, and by the way, shell-shocked is not the term they use anymore, but yeah.
Situations where people were given a provisional ballot because when they walked in on November 3rd, they were already voted for. So that's it. I mean, we have many, many times the number of votes necessary to win the state.
By the way, 12 minutes in, he said, so that's it. There's still 50 minutes left.
And we won the state, and we won it very substantially and easily. And we have much of this is they're certified. Far more certified than we need, but we're getting additional numbers certified too.
Okay, I'm just going to pot him down when we want to talk about shit because we can't be here all night with this. What is this certified thing he's talking about?
So, Mr. President,
Hold on.
I'd be able to jump in, and I'll give Brad a chance. Mr. Secretary, obviously there are allegations where we believe that not every vote or fair vote and legal vote was counted, and that's at odds with the representation from the Secretary of State's office. What I'm hopeful for is there some way that we can find some kind of agreement to look at this a little bit more fully. The president mentioned Fulton County, but in some of these areas where there seems to be a difference of where the facts seem to lead. And so, Mr. Secretary, I was hopeful that, in a spirit of cooperation and compromises, there's something that we can at least have a discussion to look at some of these allegations.
No.
Oh no! You cut it off too soon. Let it play.
Okay.
to find a path forward that's less litigious.
That's what I wanted you to get to.
Okay. First of all, and they're going to respond, of course, here in a second. But no, there's no compromise because we've gone through this 3 times. 3 times. You don't get 4 bites at the apple or something.
There's a path forward that's less litigious. So what kind of deal can we cut outside of the courthouse?
Yep.
To make this shit happen.
Yep.
I've listened to what the president has just said. President Trump, we've had several lawsuits, and we've had to respond in court to the lawsuits and the contentions. We don't agree that you have one. I didn't agree about the 200,000 number that you mentioned, and I could go through that point by point. What we had done is we gave our state senate about 1.5 hours of our time going through the election issue by issue. And then on the state house, the government affairs committee, we gave them about 2.5 hours of our time, going back point by point on all the issues of contention. And then just a few days ago, we met with our U.S. congressman, Republican congressman, and we gave them about 2 hours of our time talking about this past election. Going back, primarily what you've talked about here, focused in on primarily, I believe, is the absentee ballot process. I don't believe that you're really questioning the Dominion machines, because we did a hand retally, a 100% retally of all the ballots, and compared that to what the machine said, and it came up with virtually the same result. Then we did the recount, we got virtually the same result. So I guess we could probably take that off the table. I don't think there's an issue about that.
Brad, not that there's not an issue, but
every time they did a recount, Biden got more votes.
Perhaps
right, he's trying to tell him you don't want us to do another one.
Right, it's only going to get worse for you.
Yeah, maybe put a little different spin on what Mark is saying, Mark Meadows. We'd like to go further, but we don't really need to. We have all the votes we need. We won the state. If you took, these are the most minimal numbers, the numbers that I gave you. Those are numbers that are certified, your absentee ballots sent to vacant addresses, your out-of-state voters, 4,925.
I don't know what he's fucking talking about these things being certified. There's nothing certified about them. Just because someone swears to it on an affidavit doesn't mean anything.
What he's saying to him is, these are the votes that I want you to get rid of in order for me to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
We only lost the state by by that number, 11,000 votes, and 779. So, with that being said, with just what we have, and with just what we have, we're giving you minimal numbers. We're doing the most conservative numbers possible. We're many times above the margin. And so we don't really have to, Mark. I don't think we have to go through machines because what's the difference between winning the election by two votes and winning it by 500,000 votes? I think we probably did win it by 500,000. One of the things that happened, Brad, is we have other people coming in now from Alabama and from South Carolina and from other states, and they're saying it's impossible for you to have lost Georgia. We won, in Alabama, we set a record, got the highest vote ever. In Georgia, we set a record with a massive amount of votes. And they say it's not possible to have lost Georgia. And I could tell you by our rallies. I could tell you by the rally I'm having on Monday night, the place they already have lines of people standing out front waiting. It's just not possible to have lost Georgia. It's not possible. When I heard it was close, I said, there's no way. But they dropped a lot of votes in there late at night. You know that, Brett. And that's what we...
Yeah, again, we covered that. Those are the absentee ballots that they started after the day of.
Okay, so what he just did was... Okay, so as a construction person, what he's used to doing is moving shit around in the business. So he takes money from different accounts to make up for shit. He's asking him to take votes from those different areas to get to that number.
Right. And the difference, first of all, he starts talking about how you want to have an accurate count. And then he throws out all these numbers and says, what's the difference if you win by 2 votes or 500,000? And I think we won by 500,000. But, if you really want an accurate count and you won by 500,000, you want that out there.
No, he just gave him the out to take money out of those different accounts to make up that 12,000 votes that he wants.
Right, but he doesn't get to decide that.
That you've recalculated because the 2,236 and absentee ballots, I mean, they're all exact numbers that were done by accounting firms, law firms, etc. And even if you cut.
Okay, I'm going to back that up because this was one of the clips that's been out there, and it's kind of an important thing because this is one of the things that Kareem was talking about, where this is where he is literally telling him to go ahead and move things around and quote unquote find votes.
Already calculated and certified to. So I just don't know, Mark, I don't know what's the purpose. I won't give Dominion a pass because we found too many bad things, but
let me go back here a little bit.
And we have many, that tell you by the rally I'm having on Monday night, the place they already have lines of people standing out front waiting. It's just not possible to have lost Georgia. It's not possible. When I heard it was close, I said, there's no way. But they dropped a lot of votes in there late at night. You know that, Brad. And that's what we are working on very, very stringently. But regardless of those votes, with all of it being said, we lost by essentially 11,000 votes, and we have many more votes already calculated and certified to. So I just don't know, Mark, I don't know what's the purpose. I won't give Dominion a pass because we found too many bad things, but we don't need Dominion or anything else. We have won this election in Georgia based on all of this. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, Brad. I mean, having a correct. The people of Georgia are angry, and these numbers are going to be repeated on Monday night, along with others that we're going to have by that time, which are much more substantial even. And the people of Georgia are angry. The people of the country are angry, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. That you've recalculated because. The 2,236 and absentee ballots, I mean, they're all exact numbers that were done by accounting.
There is something wrong with saying you recalculated because we've had multiple recounts. There's no recalculating to have here. And by the way, there are a lot of people that are angry about stuff across America. And it's not just the people who voted for this clown. It's the people who didn't. We're like, listen, it's over.
And he just threatened them with that sentence because he was telling them that when he had his rally tonight, that he was going to put the rest of those numbers out.
Yeah.
To make it look like it was worse than it was. So that was the threat.
Yeah, of course. This call is full of threats. There's a variety of threats throughout this call. You get those from the clips, but those are out of context. In context, this is, I mean, I don't know how you sit and listen to this for an hour on the phone. I mean,
he's just waiting. Like, it's like Trump. We've all dealt with these types of people before. Like, that's the thing is like this guy, like just badgering over and over and over again, thinking he talks enough and says the same thing over and over and over again, that the guy's going to say something and give him something. And he's just waiting for that morsel of, like it's always waiting for is because then he's like, all right, listen, you guys are in now.
Yeah,
you're in. Good. Awesome. That's always waiting for.
Yeah.
Because then they have standing. That's what they need to have standing is this dude to say that he thinks that there's an issue with some number. That's all they need.
And what he doesn't get is that country folks, when they're done, they're fucking done.
Yeah. Everybody, when they're done, they're done.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that when that dude went to record this, He did it. He knew this is exactly what was going to happen. It was going to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, don't release this unless he misrepresents the call. He misrepresents every call. Or he attacks me. Well, he's already attacked Raffensperger multiple times and Brian Kemp multiple times. So we knew that was going to happen too. So you might as well have just said, record this and drop it. Now, Washington Post got it first, then CNN got it. It's in multiple places now. Washington Post broke the story. But it wasn't one of those things where they're like, oh, just send it to the Washington Post. They uncovered it. No, this was sent out.
Yeah.
Washington Post was just the first one to put together a story and get it out there.
Done by accounting firms, law firms, etc. And even if you cut them in half, and cut them in half again, it's more votes than we need.
Come on
well,
now.
Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong. We talked to the congressmen, and they were surprised, but they I guess there's a person named Mr. Raynard that came to these meetings and presented data. And he said that there was dead people, I believe it was upward of 5,000. The actual number were two people that were dead that voted. And so that's wrong. That was two.
Well, Cleta, how do you respond to that? I mean, you tell me.
Well, I will say, Mr. Secretary, one of the things that we have requested, and we did, what we said was, and if you look at if you read our petition, it said that we took the names and birth years, and we had certain information available to us. We have asked from your office for records that only you have. And so we said there's a universe of people who have the same name and same birth year and died, but we don't have the records that you have. And one of the things that we have been suggesting formally and informally for weeks now is for you to make available to us the records that would be necessary to confirm.
But Cleta, even before you do that, and not even including that, that's why I hardly even included that number. Although in one state we have a tremendous amount of dead people, so I don't know. I'm sure we do in Georgia too. But is that we're so far ahead. We're so far ahead of these numbers. Even the phony ballots of known scammer. You know the internet. You know what was trending on the internet?
You know what was trending on the internet? Diaper Donald. That was trending on the internet too. You want to talk about that?
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
That was, the minimum number is 18,000 for, but they think it's probably about 56,000.
Who's
but
they?
The minimum number is 18,000 on the night where she ran back in there when everybody was gone and stuffed. She stuffed the ballot boxes. Let's face it, Brad. I mean, they did it in slow motion replay magnified, right?
Oh, slow motion replay magnified now.
Like nobody's ever seen them stuffed before. So there's a term for it when it's a machine instead of a ballot box. But she stuffed the machine. She stuffed the ballot. Each ballot went 3 times. They were showing, here's ballot number 1. Here it is a second time, third time, next ballot. I mean, look, Brett, we have a new tape that we're going to release. It's devastating. And by the way, that one event.
Brad's like, I got a tape I'm going to release too, motherfucker.
Votes that we're talking about. It's, that one event was
that was a threat too. We've got a tape we're going to release.
But it was something that it can't be disputed. And again, we have a version that you haven't seen, but it's magnified. It's magnified, and you can see everything. And she for some reason, they put it in 3 times each ballot, and I don't know why. But
I've got a tape, Kareem. Chris Angel levitates, and they zoom in on it. You won't believe it. No one's levitated like this before.
State Farm video, and I think it's extremely unfortunate that Rudy Giuliani or his people, they sliced and diced that video and took it out of context. So the next day we brought in WSB TV and we let them see the full run of tape. And what you'll see, the events that transpired are nowhere near what was projected by,
But where were the poll watchers, Brad? There were no poll watchers there. There were no Democrats or Republicans. There was no security there. It was late in the evening, or early in the morning, and there was nobody else in the room. Where were the poll watchers? And why did they say a water main broke, which they did, and which is reported in the newspapers? They said they left. They ran out because of a water main break, and there was no water main. There was
the internet's not a newspaper.
There was no water main break. But if you take out everything, where were the Republican poll watchers? Even where were the Democrat poll watchers? Because there were none. And then you say, well, they left their station. If you look at the tape, and this was reviewed by professional police and detectives and other people.
Professional police, detectives, and other people.
In a rush. Everybody left in a rush because of the water main, but everybody left in a rush. These people left their station. When they came back, they didn't go to their station. They went to the apron wrapped around the table, under which were thousands and thousands of ballots in a box that was not an official or a sealed box. And then they took those and they went back to a different station. So if they would have come back, they would have walked to their station and they would have continued to work. But they couldn't do even that because that's illegal because they had no Republican poll watchers. And remember, her reputation is devastating. She's known all over the internet, Brett. She's known all over. I'm telling you, where's was one of the hot items on the. They knew her. Where's so, Brad? There can be no justification for that. And I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But that was and Brad, why did they put the votes in 3 times? They put them in 3 times.
Mr. President, they did not put that. We did an audit of that, and we proved conclusively that they were not scanned 3 times.
Well, where was everybody else at that late time in the morning? Where was everybody? Where were the Republicans? Where were the security guards? Where were the people that were there just a little while before when everyone ran out of the room? How come we had no security in the room? Why did they run to the bottom of the table? Why did they run there and just open the skirt and rip out the votes? I mean, Brad, and they were sitting there, I think for 5 hours or something like that, the votes. But they just all happened to run back and go, Brad. Come on.
Yeah, Mr. President, we'll send you the link from WSB that does.
I don't care about a link. I don't need it. I have a much better link.
I will tell you.
I don't care about the link. I have a much better link. What are you fucking talking
about? The better link than the one that's there? The actual.
Yeah, the unedited original tape.
Yeah.
By the way, you guys, anyone keeping a running tab on the number of times he says Brad?
No.
Because he said Brad in that 3-minute stretch more times than they said the name Brad in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And Brad was in that movie a lot. A lot. Masturbating, working at the fish place.
I've seen the tape, the full tape. So has Alex. We've watched it. And what we saw and what we've confirmed in the timing is that they made everybody leave. We have sworn affidavits saying that. And then they began to process ballots. And our estimate is that there were roughly 18,000 ballots. We don't know that. If you know that.
It was 18,000 ballots, but they used each one 3 times.
Well, I don't know about that, but I know.
Well, I do because we had ours magnified out. So each one magnified out.
I've watched the entire thing.
But nobody can make a case for that, Brett. Nobody. I mean, look, you'd have to be a child to think anything other than that. Just a child. I mean, you never Trump or U.S. attorney there.
How many ballots, Mr. Secretary, are you saying that were processed in?
We had GPI thoroughly investigate that.
This is Ryan Germany. We had our law enforcement officers talk to everyone who was there after that event came to light. The GBI was with them as well as FBI agents.
Well, there's no way they could. Then they're incompetent. They're either dishonest or incompetent. Okay, there's only 2 answers: dishonest.
Okay.
Hey, look, And I'm not even going to argue with him about the GBI being dishonest because I've read too many cases of that. But if they're going to be dishonest, they're going to be dishonest on your side, you dumb fuck.
Well, there's that. Yeah.
Or incompetence. There's just no way. Look, there's no way. And on the other thing I said too, there's no way. I mean, there's no way that these things could have been, you know, you have all these different people that voted, but they don't live in Georgia anymore. What was that number, Claire? It was a pretty good number too. Yeah.
Well, the number who had registered out of state after they moved from Georgia. And so they had a date when they moved from Georgia. They registered to vote out of state, and then they've like 4,500. I don't have that right in front of me.
And then they came back in and they voted.
And voted. Yeah.
No, that was a large number, though. It was in the 20s. And, you know, the point is
going through each of those as well. And those numbers that we got, that Ms. Mitchell was just saying, they're not accurate. Everyone we've been through are people that lived in Georgia, moved to a different state, but then moved back to Georgia legitimately. And in many cases...
Really? How many people do that? You mean they moved out and then they said, "Ah, the hell with it, I'll move back in." You know, it doesn't sound like a very normal... You mean they moved out and what, they missed it so much that they wanted to move back in? Yeah, it's like...
Yes.
Well,
yes.
They moved...
Yeah.
My nephew moved from North Carolina to Georgia. He moved back to North Carolina, moved back to Georgia, moved back to North Carolina again, took his ass back to Georgia. He's in Georgia working at a hospital right now. It happens all the like, dude, have you been to Atlanta?
Have you watched Little Women Atlanta? Because there's a multitude of them who went from Dallas to Atlanta to Dallas to Atlanta to Dallas to Atlanta. As well as like New York to Atlanta, Atlanta to New York, New York to Atlanta. I mean, I can blow this out of the water just with Little Women Atlanta. I don't even need a show with full size women. I can use the Little Women of Atlanta to illustrate that he's wrong. And it could also be Jason.
I was just like, you know, first of all, in California, if you get a driver's license, you're automatically registered to vote in California. So, and then you move back to Georgia, you're already registered. Oh, okay. So you're registered in 2 states. As long as you only vote in 1 state, that's all that fucking matters, dude. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. You know, like it.
Here's the other people that move out of state and come back. They're called military people.
Exactly.
And there are a lot of military bases in Georgia. And they might have been deployed, transferred, whatever else. And then when their deployment was over, their transfer was up. They put in for a transfer to come back, and they came back to Georgia. Yep. Why are you fighting against the military men and the logic of Little Women Atlanta? I need to know this. I want to have a conversation. Look, I will make an hour to have a phone call with him and sort this all out. We can do it on the 7th.
He's also pretty much saying that like students don't have a right to vote. Like if you're living in Georgia as a student and you're registered to vote in Georgia, like I mean, like he's just talking about anybody that. What the fuck are you even doing, dude? What are you talking about? Like,
if you believe that, Jason, you're a child.
But he goes from Texas. He goes from New York to Florida all the fucking time.
Well, not anymore. Yeah. He's not welcome in New York.
Yeah.
Years ago, this was not like something just before the election. So there's something about that data that it's just not accurate.
Well, I don't know. All I know is that it is certified, and they moved out of Georgia, and they voted. It didn't say they moved back in, Clayton, did it?
No, but I mean, we're looking at the voter registry again. If you have additional records, we've been asking for that, but you haven't shared any of that with us. You just keep saying you've been.
A lot of it you don't need to be shared. I mean, to be honest, they should share it. They should share it because you want to get to an honest election. I won this election by hundreds of thousands of votes. There's no way I lost Georgia. There's no way. We won by hundreds of thousands of votes.
How are you making claims if you don't have the information to prove your case?
Well, that's the best way to do it.
But I won that state by hundreds of thousands of votes.
You just say I've won by hundreds of thousands of votes. The people that like you believe what you're saying, even though it's complete bullshit, and then you move on. You don't have to bother with any of this verifying facts. Look, you've got things certified.
Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that? Because that's illegal.
Ryan, Germany. No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County. We're having.
Well, but have they moved? Have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure? Ryan?
I'm sure, Mr. President.
And what about the ballots? The shredding of the ballots. Have they been shredding ballots?
No. The only investigation that we have into that, they have not been shredding any ballots. There was an issue in Cobb County where they were doing normal, office shredding, getting rid of old stuff, and we investigated that. But this is stuff from past elections.
Well, I don't know.
That's what
it doesn't pass the smell test, though, because we hear they're shredding.
I just want to punch everybody in the throat who says it doesn't pass the smell test, because this isn't about the smell test. The smell test is for simple things and simple people.
Social media, people can say anything.
No, this isn't social media. This is Trump media.
It's not social media. It's Trump media. Well, there it's all true. I mean, what the fuck?
It's all true.
Big tech is on your side. I don't even know why you have a side, because you should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate election.
No, I know you don't. No, you don't. You don't have. Not even close. You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes. And just on the small numbers, you're off on these numbers. And these numbers can't be judged. Well, okay, so you send us into Cobb County for signature verification, right? You send us into Cobb County, which we didn't want to go into. And you said it would be open to the public and we could have so we had our experts there. They weren't allowed into the room. But we didn't want Cobb County. We wanted Fulton County, and you wouldn't give it to us. Now, why aren't we doing signature, and why can't it be open to the public, and why can't we have professionals do it instead of rank amateurs that will never find anything and don't want to find anything? They don't want to find, they don't want to find anything. Someday you'll tell me the reason why, because I don't understand your reasoning, but someday you'll tell me the reason why. But why don't you want to find?
We chose Cobb County.
Why don't you want to find? What?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, why did you do Cobb County? We didn't even we requested Fulton County, not Cobb County.
Well, Mr. President, we did have our election contest.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
We chose Cobb County because that was the only county where there's been any evidence submitted that the signature verification was not properly done.
Well, no, but I told you, but we're not saying that. We are the aggrieved party. Fulton County, look, Stacey, in my opinion, Stacey is as dishonest as they come. She has outplayed you at every heart, at everything. She got you to sign a totally unconstitutional agreement, which is a disastrous agreement. You can't check signatures. You can't do that. I can't imagine you're allowed to do harvesting, I guess, in that agreement. That agreement is a disaster for this country. But she got you somehow to sign that thing, and she's outsmarted you at every step. And I hate to imagine what's going to happen on Monday or Tuesday, but it's very scary to people, where the ballots flow in out of nowhere. It's very scary to people. That consent decree is a disaster. It's a disaster. A very good lawyer who examined it said they've never.
Okay, the ballots aren't flying in out of nowhere. They're coming in the mail.
They're not harvesting. They're being put in a drop box, and you pick them up out of the fucking drop box.
I mean, I guess you could refer that as harvesting or collecting. They're collecting the ballots, but
they're not doing like the Republican in North Carolina who was harvesting ballots.
Well, sure.
The Republican in North Carolina was doing that.
Well, sure. That's kind of what they're known for. That's their thing.
Anything like it, and
harvesting is still illegal in the state of Georgia, and that settlement agreement did not change that.
Well, it's not a settlement agreement; it's a consent decree. It even says consent decree on it, doesn't it? It uses the term consent decree. It doesn't say settlement agreement. It's a consent decree. It's a disaster.
It's a settlement agreement.
What's written on top of it?
Ryan?
I don't have it in front of me, but it was not entered by the court. It's not a court order.
No, it's called, but Ryan, it's called the consent decree. Is that right on the paper? Is that right?
I don't believe so. But I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Whatever. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. Look, here's the problem. We can go through signature verification and we'll find hundreds of thousands of signatures if you let us do it. And the only way you can do it, as you know, is to go to the past. But you didn't do that in Cobb County. You just looked at one page compared to another. The only way you can.
We're going to go to the past, everybody. let's get Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd and the DeLorean and the railroad car, and let's go to the past.
You know, or even one, and you'll find that you have many different signatures. But in Fulton, where they dumped the ballots, you will find that you have many that aren't even signed, and you have many that are forgeries. Okay, you know that.
In Fulton, where the black people are, that's what he's really saying.
Of course.
You will be at 11,779 within minutes, because Fulton County is totally corrupt, and so is she totally corrupt. And they're going around playing you and laughing at you behind your back, Brad. Whether you know it or not, they're laughing at you. And you've taken a state that's a Republican state, and you've made it almost impossible for a Republican to win because of cheating, because they cheated like nobody's ever cheated before. And I don't care how long it takes me. We're going to have other states coming forward pretty good. But I won't. This is never given. We have some incredible talent. Said they've never seen anything. Now, the problem is they need more time for the big numbers, but they are very substantial.
So part of what he's talking about is, I think it's a settlement agreement that was reached between Stacey Abrams and the state because the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act. And in order for them to keep her from taking them back to the Supreme Court and all of that stuff to be reinstated, they reached an agreement so that they wouldn't have to end up back at the Supreme Criminal where they would be watched, federally watched during the voting process.
That's a criminal offense, and you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. That's a big risk. But they are.
That's another threat,
in my opinion, based on what I've heard. And they are removing machinery, and they're moving it as fast as they can. Both of which are criminal fines, and you can't let it happen. And
they've already told him that it's not happening.
How are you removing machinery and they're voting right now?
All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state, and flipping the state is a great testament to our country, because there's just it's a testament that they can admit to a mistake, or whatever you want to call it. If it was a mistake, I don't know. A lot of people think it wasn't a mistake. It was much more criminal than that. But it's a big problem in Georgia, and it's not a problem that's going away. I mean, it's not a problem that's going away. And we got
President, this is Ryan. We're looking into every one of those things that you mentioned.
Okay,
and our investigators.
But if you find them, you got to say it, Ryan. Look, let me ask you, Ryan, if they're destroying ballots.
Let me tell you what we are seeing.
Go ahead.
What we're seeing is not at all what you're describing. Okay. And these are investigators from our office. These are investigators from GBI, and they're looking and they're good, and that's not what they're seeing. And we'll keep looking. We'll keep looking at all these things.
Well, you better check on the ballots, because they are shredding ballots, Brian. I'm just telling you, Ryan, they're shredding ballots, and you should look at that very carefully, because that's so illegal. You may not even believe it because it's so bad, but they're shredding ballots. because they think we're going to eventually get there. Because
I don't believe it because you're making it up. That's why I don't believe it.
Okay, you'll notice at the beginning of the call, when they brought up Dominion, they were trying to stay away from Dominion or limit what they said about Dominion as much as possible.
Right.
In the last 5 minutes of this call, he has thrown Dominion into this. Dominion is going to sue his ass. The rest of those people were trying to stay out of that because they don't want to be in that lawsuit. They are going to sue his ass.
Yeah.
They've already named the office of the president in the potential lawsuit. So this is just going to put them in the crosshairs again.
You have in the state.
We'll get you that number.
Because most of them are made out to the name Trump, because these are people that were scammed when they came in, and we have thousands of people that have testified or that want to testify. When they came in, they were proudly going to vote on November 3rd, and they were told, I'm sorry, you've already been voted for, you've already voted. The women, men started screaming, no, I proudly voted till November 3rd. They said, I'm sorry, but you already been voted for, and you have a ballot. And these people are beside themselves. So they went out and they filled in a provisional ballot, putting the name Trump on it. And what about that batch of military ballots that came in? And even though I won the military by a lot, it was 100% Trump. Do you know? I mean, 100% Biden. Do you know about that? A large group of ballots came in. I think it was to Fulton County, and they just happened to be 100% for Trump, even though for Biden, even though Trump won the military by a lot, a tremendous amount. But these ballots were 100% for Biden. And
the military isn't it's an electoral vote.
No, I won the military by a lot. I don't believe he actually did win the military by a lot.
We were never.
Well, okay, Cleta, wait. I'm not asking you, Cleta, honestly. I'm asking Brad.
Yeah, men are talking here.
Military ballots that we have confirmed now. Do you know about the military ballots that came in that were 100%? I mean, 100% for Biden. Do you know about that?
And I don't know about that. I do know that we have when military ballots come in, it's not just military. It's also military and overseas citizens. The military part of that does generally go Republican. The overseas citizen part of it generally goes very Democrat.
No, but this was
a mix of them.
Yeah, that's okay. But I got like 78% in the military. These ballots were all for this. They didn't tell me overseas. Could be overseas too, but I get votes overseas too, Ryan. In all fairness. No, they came in, a large batch came in, and it was quote 100% for Biden, and that is criminal. That's criminal. Okay.
What did he just tell you, you fucking idiot?
Well, and again, it's Fulton County. What's the population makeup there?
Black people.
Right.
I have to find 12,000 votes, and I have them times a lot, and therefore I won the state. That's before we go to the next step, which is in the process of right now. And
this is an 8-year-old circular argument of logic. This is a child argument, except it's an old man yelling.
You talk about no criminality. I think it's very dangerous for you to say that. I just don't know why you don't want to have the votes counted as they are. Like even when you went to do that check, and I was surprised because I didn't consider the check, and we found a few thousand votes that were against me. I was actually surprised because the way that check was done, all you're doing is recertifying existing votes, and you were given votes and you just counted them up, and you still found 3,000 that were bad. That was sort of surprising. That came down to 3 or 5. I don't know, a lot. Still a lot of votes, but you have to go back to check from past years with respect to signatures. And if you check with Fulton County, you'll have hundreds of thousands because they dumped.
They don't want to do that.
Fulton County and the other county next to them. So what are we going to do here, folks? I only need 11,000 votes, fellas. I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break. We have that in spades already.
We have it in spades, bro.
That's not fair to the voters of Georgia because they're going to see what happened.
Give me a break on that price, man.
I mean, I'll take on anybody you want with regard to and her lovely daughter, a very lovely young lady, I'm sure. But I will take on anybody you want. And the minimum, there were 18,000 ballots, but they used them 3 times, so that's a lot of votes.
He still hasn't multiplied 18 times 3.
Biden, by the way, that's the other thing we didn't say. The one thing I forgot to say, which was the most important. Do you know that every single ballot she did went to Biden? You know that, right? Do you know that, by the way, Brett? Every single ballot that she did through the machine at early in the morning went to Biden. Did you know that, Ryan?
That's not accurate, Mr. President.
What is accurate?
The numbers that we are showing are accurate.
About early in the morning, Ryan.
He was losing Fulton County on those votes like 90%. Like it was like 9 to 1 on those ballots.
Do you know who they were made out to? Do you know who?
Pretty much trying to just disenfranchise a whole group of people.
Yeah.
Black people.
Why do these black people vote?
It's like, these people don't matter.
I described you earlier.
No. Did you ever check the ballots that were scammed by a known political operative balloteer? Did you ever check who those votes were for?
We've looked into that situation that you described.
No, they were 100% for Biden. 100%. There wasn't a Trump vote in the whole group. Why don't you want to find this, Ryan? What's wrong with you? I heard your lawyer is very difficult, actually, but I'm sure you're a good lawyer. You have a nice last name. But I'm just curious.
What do it, Jewish? Dude.
Like, it doesn't make sense. We're way over the 17.
You also notice whenever they start to explain to him why he's wrong, he just yells louder. It's just him yelling louder.
Did you know this? Did you know that, Nate? Did you know it, Nate? Did you know that? Nate, did you know that?
Keep repeating the name.
You know it?
Did you know that? Have you looked at that? Because we won by a lot.
Well, then tell me what's saying it. Just tell me what it is, then, Nate. Tell me what the issue is.
So tell me, Brad, what are we going to do? We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this. And it's going to be very costly in many ways.
Oh,
and
is that a threat?
I think you have to say that you can re-examine it, and you can re-examine it, but re-examine it with people that want to find answers, not people that don't want to find answers.
People that,
for instance, I'm hearing Ryan, probably, I'm sure a great lawyer and everything, but he's making statements about those ballots that he doesn't know. But he's making them with such, he did make them with surety, but now I think he's less sure because the answer is they all went to Biden. And that alone wins us the election by a lot.
If you take away the votes that went to Biden, we won the election.
You have people that submit information, and we have our people that submit information, and then it comes before the court, and the court then has to make a determination. We have to stand by our numbers. We believe our numbers are right.
Why do you say that, though? I don't know. I mean, sure, we can play this game with the courts, but why do you say that? First of all, they don't even assign us a judge. But why wouldn't you, hey, Brad, why wouldn't you want to check out? And why wouldn't you want to say, hey, if in fact President Trump is right about that, then he wins the state of Georgia. Just that one incident alone, without going through hundreds of thousands of drop ballots. You just say you stick by, I mean, I've been watching you for, you don't care about anything. Your numbers are right.
Yeah. We've checked the numbers 3 times. They're right.
That's how this works.
That's how this works. We count, we recount, we hand count. The numbers are right. Yes, sure.
Can't you just just say that the contractor left something out and give him the job? That's what he said.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. There have been at least 4 instances where he's given him instruction on how to cheat, on how to do this. So he's demanded that he do it. He's given him 4 different ways to do it. Said, why won't you do it? Every time they try and tell him why, he just yells louder.
Yep.
Which I'm guessing is happening a lot.
Numbers aren't right. They're really wrong. And they're really wrong, Brad. And I know this phone call is going nowhere other than ultimately, you know, look, ultimately I win. Okay.
No,
because
Mr. Secretary,
you guys are so wrong. And you've treated the population of Georgia so badly. Between you and your governor, who was down at 21, he was down 21 points. And like a schmuck, I endorsed him and he got elected. But I will tell you, he's a disaster. And he'll never, I can't imagine, the people are so angry in Georgia, I can't imagine he's ever getting elected again. I'll tell you that much right now. But why wouldn't you want to find the right answer, Brad, instead of keep saying that the numbers are right? Because those numbers are so wrong.
Mr. Secretary, Mr. President, I mean, one of the things that we have been, Alex talk about this, we've talked about it, and I don't know whether the information has been conveyed to your office, but I think what the President's saying, what we've been trying to do is to say, look, the court is not acting on our petition. They haven't even assigned a judge. But the people of Georgia and the people of America have a right to know the answers. And you have data and records that we don't have access to.
Okay. There's a reason there hasn't been a judge assigned. Because you got no case. You got no case. And you got no case. You got no judge. Just like Jason got no audio because he's muted.
It's the same situation that, like, it's through the whole call. All right, you have Trump saying what he's saying, and he is being Trump. All right, he's this woman, very articulate in what she says and what she talks about, trying to steer them into how they can legally do what she wants them to do,
right? So
they can get the votes. Like, the whole time she is saying to it legally, like, saying things like outside the courthouse, like, is there a way we do this with less? That's one way of saying, let's look at some other avenues for this, to make this get taken care of, you know. And she keeps doing it just by pointing out just different little things that like, oh, well, here's this information about, like, because all they need is for him to say, well, I mean, like, that's all they need. Like, they just need his buy-in, just this little much. They just need, like, not even an inch. Like, they need a millimeter.
Well, and to clarify, Jason, no, she keeps asking for the exact same thing over and over, just like Trump. Except she's got this thing. Oh, you have access to this data that we don't have. We don't have this data. We can't prove our case because we don't have the data that you have. Meanwhile, they're saying we have the data, and the data does not back up what you're saying.
No, but they want to get, but see, they know that if they get a hold of the data, they can manipulate it if they want to and give it back to them. Like, that thing, like 100% what it is, because they have the ability and the power to do that right now while they're in office.
And that's why they're not giving it to them.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Elections are run by the states. The states have control of them. The states are the ones who run them. It's the Secretary of State in each state that takes control of that. And they're not going to give it up, because if they give it up to him, the next election, when Biden is president, they have to give it up to him.
Yep.
And once everything's great when your guy's in charge, but when your guy's not, when you change the rules, so because everything's great because your guy's in charge, it's going to change. It always does. Eventually, your guy's not in charge anymore. Maybe it's going to be in 2 weeks. Maybe it's going to be in 4 years, but your guy won't be in charge anymore. And then you're not going to be happy about things. And That's just the way it goes. All right, we've only got about 11 and a half. Oh my God, it feels like longer. 11 and a half minutes left.
And you keep telling us and making public statements that you've investigated this and, nothing to see here.
Right.
But we don't know about that. All we know is what you tell us. What I don't understand is why it wouldn't be in everyone's best interest to try to get to the bottom, compare the numbers. If you say, because but to try to be able to get to the truth, and that because we don't have any way of confirming what you're telling us. You tell us that you've had an investigation of the State Farm Arena. I don't have any report. I've never seen a report of investigation. I don't know what that is. I've been pretty involved in this. I don't know. And that's just one of like 25 categories. And it doesn't even, and as the president said, we haven't even gotten into the Dominion issue. That's not part of our case. It's not part of, we just didn't feel as though we had any way to be able to develop.
No, we do have a way, but I don't want to get into it
Exactly.
because we found a way in other states, Leader, excuse me, but we don't need it because we're only down 11,000 votes, so we don't even need it.
Right.
I personally think they're corrupt as hell, but we don't need that because all we have to do, Slade, is find 11,000 plus votes. So we don't need that. I'm not looking to shake up the whole world. We won Georgia easily. We won it by hundreds of thousands of votes. But if you go by basic, simple numbers, we won it easily. So we're not giving
as opposed to like hard, difficult numbers. Those are the ones
Hard,
that are difficult
numbers.
We don't need
like 18 times 3.
So many other votes that we don't need to prove it any more than we already have.
54, right?
Mr. President, Cleta, this is Kurt Hilbert. If I might interject here for a moment. Ryan, I would like to suggest that just 4 categories that have already been mentioned by the president that have actually hard numbers of 24,149 votes that were counted illegally. That in and of itself is sufficient to change the result or place the outcome in doubt. We would like to just sit down with your office, and we can do it through purposes of compromise and settlement, just like this phone call, just to deal with that limited category of votes. And if you are able to establish that our numbers are not accurate, then fine. However, we believe that they are accurate. We've had now 3 to 4 separate experts look at these numbers. These numbers are based upon the USPS.
And certified accountants looked at them.
Correct. And this is just based on USPS data and your own Secretary.
Certified accountants.
So that's what we would entreat and ask you to do, to sit down with us in a compromise and settlement proceeding, and actually go through the registered voter IDs and the registrations. And if you can convince us that 24,149 is inaccurate, then fine. But we tend to believe that is, obviously more than 11,779. That's sufficient to change the result entirely in and of itself. So what would you say to that, Mr. Germany?
Go fuck yourself. Say it again. Go fuck yourself.
They're never going to be able to sit down and show them the data and the recounts and everything and convince these crazy motherfuckers that they're wrong. The numbers that they have are correct, and that the numbers that these assholes are bringing in are just fucking nuts, out of nowhere, have no basis in reality. So this claim that if you could just sit down with us and if you can convince us, then, so be it. By the way, it's not the job of the Secretary of State to convince these peckerweeds that they have the correct count on the ballots. It just isn't.
No.
They've already done
it. It's your job to convince them and to convince the court. It's not the other way around.
Right. You know why? Because you're not the fucking king.
Happy to. I'll get with our lawyers and we'll set that up. That number is not accurate, and I think we can show you for all the ones we've looked at why it's not. And so if that would be helpful, I'm happy to get with our lawyers and set that up.
It would not be helpful.
Well,
we'd like to
let me ask you,
right
Kurt.
away.
Kurt, you think that is an accurate number? That was based on the information given to you by the Secretary of State's Department, right?
That is correct. That information is the minimum, most conservative data based upon the USPS data and the Secretary of State's office data that has been made publicly available. We do not have the internal numbers from the Secretary of State, yet we have asked for it 6 times. I've sent a letter over to Mr. Anulowitz several times requesting this information, and it's been rebuffed every single time. So it stands to reason that if the information is not forthcoming, there's something to hide. That's the problem that we have.
Well, that's not the case. There are things that you guys are entitled to get, and there's things that under law we are not allowed to give out.
Well, you have to. Well, under law, you're not allowed to give faulty election results. Okay, you're not allowed to do that, and that's what you've done. This is a faulty election result, and honestly, this should go very fast. You should meet tomorrow because you have a big election coming up, and because of what you've done to the president, you know the people of Georgia know that this was a scam, and because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote. And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president. Okay? They hate it. And they're going to vote. And if you would be respected, if this thing could be straightened out before the election. You have a big election coming up on Tuesday. And therefore, I think that it really is important that you meet tomorrow and work out on these numbers. Because I know, Brad, that if you think we're right, I think you're going to say, and I'm not looking to blame anybody. I'm not blaming. I'm just saying that, under new counts and under new views of the election results, we won the election. It's all, it's very simple. We won the election. As the governor of major states.
Okay, as if you take a new view and a new count, we've won the election. What a new count of what? We've counted 3 times.
Okay. He's called them 18 times.
Yeah.
They've recounted 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
When they decided to take this phone call, they had everybody in every department go back through and check all of their shit.
Yeah.
And when I say everybody has worked overtime to make sure that when they got on this phone call, they had every I crossed, every I dotted, every T crossed, every number counted again, because they were not going to get caught with their pants down.
Yeah. I have my eyes crossed after listening to this. We've got about 5 minutes left. We're going to get through it all. We're going to get through this together because it's important that we listen to this as a country and a world. And it's important that no one has to go through this alone. So we are here for you.
Under new counts and under new views of the election results, we won the election. It's all, it's very simple. We won the election. As the governor of major states and the surrounding states said, there is no way you lost Georgia. As the Georgia politicians say, there is no way you lost Georgia. Everyone knows I won it by hundreds of thousands of votes. But I'll tell you, it's going to have a big impact on Tuesday if you guys don't get this thing straightened out fast.
Well, Mr. President, this is Mark. Let me just, it sounds like we've got 2 different sides.
Okay, this is the Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, who I'm going to not say what I think of Mark Meadows. I'm just going to let him talk.
Agreeing that we can look at those areas, and I assume that we can do that within the next 24 to 48 hours to go ahead and get that reconciled so that we can look at the 2 claims and making sure that we get the access to the Secretary of State's data to either validate or invalidate the claims that have been made. Is that correct?
So that's not what I said. I'm happy to sit down with, or have our lawyers sit down with Kurt and the lawyers on that side and explain to him, hey, here's, based on what we've looked at so far, here's how we know this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And
so what you're saying, Ryan? Hold on, let me make sure. So what you're saying is you really don't want to give access to the data. You just want to make another case on why the lawsuit is wrong.
I don't think we can give access to data that's protected by law. But we can sit down with them and say,
but you're allowed to have a phony election. You're allowed to have a phony election, right?
No, sir.
When are you going to do the signature counts on that? When are you going to do signature verification on Fulton County, which you said you were going to do, and now all of a sudden you're not doing it? When are you doing that?
We are going to do that. We've announced.
To get to this issue of the personal information and privacy issue, is it possible that the Secretary of State could deputize the lawyers for the president so that we could access that information, that private information, without you having any kind of violation?
Well, I don't want to know who it is. You guys can do it very confidentially. You can sign a confidentiality agreement. That's okay. I don't need to know names.
You can seal this out, like, was that part of the conversation that we heard?
That we're talking about.
What was that, Jason?
That's just that comment that he just made. Like I'm glad. Like, there's a reason why this call ended shortly after him saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to think that his side decided to end the call because it's like, okay, we're now. First of all, we're well beyond dangerous territory here. This call, and I haven't watched a lot of coverage of this today, but this call violates federal election law. It also violates Georgia state law. You're not allowed to, as an elected official, attempt to bully secretaries of state and other election officials to get what you want. You're just not. It's not allowed. It's not legal at all. Now, I'm sure at some point he's going to refer to this as a perfect phone call. But it's just not. But we're going to finish it.
That information from the Secretary of State.
Yeah, so let me recommend, Ryan, if you and Kurt will get together, when we get off of this phone call, if you could get together and work out a plan to address some of what we've got with your attorneys, where we can actually look at the data. For example, Mr. Secretary, I can tell you, you say there was only 2 dead people that would vote. I can promise you there are more than that, and that may be what your investigation shows, but I can promise you there are more than that. But at the same time, I think it's important that we go ahead and move expeditiously to try to do this and resolve it as quickly as we possibly can. And if that's the good next step, hopefully
before we lose access to the ability.
Yeah, before Wednesday, when Congress certifies everything.
Well, why don't my lawyers show you where you got the information? It'll show the Secretary of State, and you don't even have to look at any names. We don't want names. We don't care. But we got that information from you. And
he's talking. I don't want to know about that. You just that's what a person says when they want to say that they have.
And I only ran
what's it? Deniability, deniability. Like,
and I beat her.
That's what they say.
If I didn't run Brian, he would have had even a shot, either in the general or in the primary. He was dead as a doornail. He never thought he had a shot at either one of them. What a schmuck I was. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. I would like you to, for the attorneys on my side, I'd like you to perhaps meet with Ryan, ideally tomorrow, because I think we should come to a resolution of this before the election. Otherwise, you're gonna have people just not voting. They don't want to vote. They hate the state. They hate the governor, and they hate the Secretary of State. I will tell you that right now. And the only people that like you are people that will never vote for you. You know that, Brad, right? They like you. You know, they like you. They can't believe what they found. They want more people like you. So look, can you get together tomorrow? And Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple. And everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out. It's okay. It take a little while, but let the truth come out. And the real truth is I won by 400,000 votes, at least. That's the real truth. But we don't need 400,000 votes. We need less than 2,000 votes. And are you guys able to meet tomorrow, Ryan?
I'll get with Chris, the lawyer who's representing us. In
the Falcons are playing. No.
All right.
Ryan will be in touch with the other attorney on this call, Mr. Meadows. Thank you, President Trump, for your time.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
President.
Go fuck yourself. Say it again.
All right. Well, that's it. We made it through the entire call.
Alma's happy.
Well, sure. She doesn't have to listen to it. We made it through the whole call. Yeah, I laughed, I cried, I fudged my undies. It's a Red Peters Christmas song, by the way. Yeah, the CNN has the whole transcript and, of course, the hour long. If you want to listen to, I mean, this is Kareem's third time through, so I don't know what's wrong with him.
And actually, I'm going to listen to it again.
Yeah, it's. Are you going to read along? I think that's helpful too, to read along with the transcript. I couldn't because I was trying to stop it all the time.
We're going to talk after we finish, after we get off.
Yeah,
but I have an idea now.
Oh, well, excellent. All right, well, we've made it through that, so God help us all. So as we're live on this, it's Monday night. The show drops on Wednesday. So by the time the show drops, the runoff will have taken place in Georgia. Georgia runoffs were designed to keep black people from winning. So let's see how this goes. Reverend Warnock is African American. John Ossoff is not. They're both very smart. Ossoff reminds me a little of Pete Buttigieg. Just, his attitude and how smart he is, and how, I mean, when Fox News walked up on him out of nowhere, and he goes, "Oh, good, I get a chance to talk to Fox viewers. Here's what you're missing out on." And dude is always ready with his shit. He's a smart guy, which for a lot of people is going to be a threat because they don't like smart people. You think you're better than me. You think you're better than me, don't you? Well, you ain't. And I ain't going to vote for you because you ain't better than me, but you think you are. Boy, that was something. Wow.
And I'm glad we did that because, like, I heard stuff that I didn't hear before. You know what I mean? Like, I heard it in a different way than I heard it with us listening to it this way. So,
yeah, I mean, you've got the perspective of other people listening. Things pop out at you, and I mean, here's my brief recap of what we heard. It was an hour of Trump yelling nonsense that he got from somewhere, nowhere verifiable, but he got it from somewhere. The people in Georgia had an answer for everything that they brought up, but as soon as they would try and give the answer, he would just yell louder. And he has this one lady lawyer who is trying to not have everything go to hell in a handbasket, who has a really annoying voice.
And her law firm is now looking into what she was doing on the phone call.
Well, that is a good point. What were you doing on the phone call, ma'am?
Yeah, this could affect our errors and omissions and professional liability coverages.
Yeah, there's. Hi, Alma. Yeah, there's a lot of problems that go along with this. So I mean, there's things that are gonna be fallout from this. The error. By the way, good Lord, did you see the Arizona GOP on Twitter? That is and it's the official verified Twitter account of the Arizona Republican Party. And good Christ, what a bunch of morons.
Yeah.
It's just atrocious. And I don't even know. I've said it before. I listen to the Lincoln Project podcast. I don't agree with most of what the people in the Lincoln Project stand for, up until the point where they decided that it was important that Donald Trump had to go, and that the authoritarianism that he represents needs to be fought. With that, I agree with them. But it's interesting to hear other perspectives about things and go, okay, what about us is the same? You know, what is the same about me and someone who is a conservative Republican? I think it's important to look at those similarities as well as, you know, our differences of opinion on things. Because what's happened recently, man, with the advent of Trump coming in and with the Tea Party before that, is it ceased to be just this difference of ideas. I think this, and this is how I think things should be solved. And the other person says, no, I think this is how things should be attacked. But you had this common good, at least outwardly, as your goal. And that's gone away. And it sucks. It really does. And it would be nice to get that back. And I guess you could make the argument that in a lot of ways, it really wasn't always there, that it was an illusion that I got because I'm a white guy from Vermont, so I never saw it. And maybe that's so. But man, wouldn't it be nice to be able to just get back and go, oh, let's talk about how we want to solve a problem, and let's take your idea and my idea and kind of figure out where we can fall in the middle and solve it.
There's that infographic I've shared a couple of times, which just shows like how Congress like is just changed in the last 40 years, starting with the invention of the Christian right, pretty much like in the 80s, and just seeing like they're becoming a blue and a red eventually, and just like 5 people on the red side that talk to 5 people on the blue side, and that's it. And that's all that happens. Like, and that's where we're at now.
It's Reagan, and I can't think of that guy's name right now. But when they decided that was going to be there, it's fucking fighting Reconstruction all over again.
Yeah,
that's where we are.
Right? It was a descent backward.
Yeah,
Reagan started the clock going backwards, basically. So that was the whole call, the whole hour of it in context and with some interruption, but we made it through.
Yeah.
So next week we'll be back with a show that has more laughs than this one, more laughs than a barrel of monkeys.
I mean, there's plenty of laughs. It's just you had to cry after you laughed.
Well, sure. Yeah. That laugh that you have after you whack your elbow really hard. You're like, I think I broke it. It was that sort of thing. Or like, Jason, you'll identify with this. When you kick something really hard and feel like you might have broken your toe.
Yes.
I have 2 pinky toes right now that are black and blue. Like,
ooh.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ultimate dad thing, man. That's what I've discovered. How do you know when you're a dad? You just completely lost any regard for your own toes. Because that's kind of what it is. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us for now. Have a great week. Here's hoping that Wednesday is smooth with little to no violence in DC. We'll see how it goes. But by the way, the leader of the Proud Boys was arrested for the pulling down of the Black Lives Matter banner from the church in DC. So we'll see if he makes it out to the big rally on Wednesday. I don't really care if he does or not, but we shall see. And let's fingers crossed for the Georgia election, and fingers crossed for a smooth certification of Joe Biden as our next president. And we will see you all next week. I'll leave you with this. Darling New Media, here to help you tell your story.